Yeah, there's another water truck parked there, I think.
There's Mum and Dad's house.
We were evacuated late on Monday evening and then made our way down through BC to get around to here, and sort of found out on social media this morning sort of thing that our house had burnt down.
People have been saying for months that Jasper was going to burn.
We're part of nature, and we're smarter than nature. We should be able to live in nature and not, lose our homes every 10 years.
Sydney Fizzard for Rebel News. Disaster has struck the Jasper area as a massive wildfire has obliterated the town and surrounding area, with thousands upon thousands of people evacuating, seeking refuge, some of them behind me here at the reception center in Calgary. Countless locals have been left unemployed, homeless, and deprived of the community they call home. On July 22nd, a state of emergency was declared and evacuation orders put in place, causing the displacement of roughly 25,000 Jasper locals and tourists. Many are now seeking refuge at reception centers like the one here in Calgary and other Alberta cities, for food, shelter, and other means of support as flames continue to ravage their community. Devastated by the damage this wildfire has caused, those here are now faced with the harsh reality this situation has brought. Many were reluctant to speak to their circumstances on camera at this time. However, we were able to speak to some of the affected individuals just outside this facility to find out a little bit more about what transpired and how it has impacted them. Not only is this a crisis for those directly affected by this wildfire, the situation has also sparked a national conversation around how wildfires should be mitigated and whether negligent climate activism has a role to play in wildfire management. We also spoke with Martin Belanger, known online as Marty Up North, a prominent Alberta outdoorsman content creator, who took social media by storm after posting his reaction to this wildfire situation. With decades of experience exploring and living near Jasper National Park, Marty details his concerns around how lacking forest maintenance and political decision-making may have been prime factors in exacerbating the crisis we now see today.
Homes and businesses have been lost to a wildfire that people are calling a wall of flames. There is no denying that this is the worst nightmare for any community. To the residents of Jasper and those displaced far from home looking at the images of your town on TV and online, the feelings of loss and fear and loneliness must be overwhelming. But you are not alone. All Albertans are with you. For many generations, the town of Jasper and the parks surrounding it have been a source of pride. With some of the most beautiful scenery in the entire in the world.
I live just on the outskirts of Jasper. I live, in Edson, Fox Creek. I spent 20 years living up north. In fact, online my name is Marty Up North, so people often ask why that is. And yeah, I consider Jasper a playground. I mean, that I spent 20 years exploring the backcountry of Jasper. I've seen lots of wildfires. I mean, I'm an Albertan. I've seen Slave Lake. I've seen Fort McMurray. Firsthand, I've seen lots of wildfires. In working in the oil patch, we'd often get asked to offer assistance. Have I ever seen one like this? From what I can tell, no, I've never seen one like this one. This one looks devastating. I mean, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I do not look forward to going back to Jasper in the coming days to see what it looks like.
So I work at the ski hill that's just outside Jasper town site, and all me and my flatmates we were evacuated late on Monday evening and then made our way down through BC to get around to here, and found out on social media this morning sort of thing that our house had burnt down. So we're sort of displaced at the moment, but it's pretty rough times at the moment for everyone from the town.
Like a lot of Jasper has burnt from what we know. I think it's like 70%. And right now we don't have anywhere to go. We're sorting out a hotel right now. Our jobs, we don't know when we'll be able to go back. Leaving was really scary. I think like 25,000 people evacuated. And there was like about 3 hours worth of cars like bumper to bumper trying to get out.
The South Fire made a significant push driven by wind and very receptive fuels. There's very, very dry conditions in Jasper right now. The fire behavior was quite intense, starting at about around 1 o'clock. Fire crews were witnessing 300 to 400 foot flames, fully involved, continuous crown fire, and a fire spread rate of approximately 15 meters per minute.
One of the things that is normally set in place to help mitigate this is controlled burns. We've obviously seen in Banff last year, there was a controlled burn that went loose and actually caused a great deal of devastation in a smaller regard to what we're seeing now. But what's your take on the controlled burns that have been had, and are they doing this appropriately?
They haven't had enough. I mean, I'm familiar with controlled burns because often when I go hiking on hikes, what we do beforehand is we'll go look on advisories on the government website, the parks website, to see where they're planning on doing burns. And honestly, in the last 3 or 4 years, there hasn't been very many burns. And of the ones they've attempted, they've been unsuccessful. They've either gotten away on them or they were too small. It's ironic, but they've had some that were too small. They tried to make bigger ones that didn't function. You know, the bureaucracy is causing problems. I think they're just hiding it under climate change as I mean, do I believe in climate change? Sure, there's lots of natural, we live in Alberta. I mean, I can go in the Rockies and show evidence of hundreds of millions of years of climate change, but am I going to blame everything that's happening now on climate change? No, I tend to blame government incompetence.
It happened really fast. Like, we were just out at the lake, and then all of a sudden a storm picked up and a lightning strike happened, and then there was just black smoke coming from everywhere.
From when we returned home from work in the evening to the point in which we were evacuated, it was extraordinarily quickly. The fire started and just spread so fast, really. I think it was just under 2 hours from the point of where we heard about the fire starting, and then it was in under 2 hours that it went from that to a warning to evacuation to leaving town.
And you mentioned in a tweet that's gone viral that it is particularly the last decade where you've seen a deterioration of this quality of service. What was it like before?
Before, the park had a proper mandate of protecting the park and managing the park. And I think somewhere in the last 15, 20 years, the idea of making money off tourists changed the mandate of the park. And, so 20 years ago, we had no services in the backcountry or even in the front country. I mean, you kind of used at your own risk. But now the park is collecting money and doing all these weird things to, I think, attract tourists and to make money. But they're caught in a loop of having to provide services, upgrade those services, and then they're neglecting the actual mandate, which is to protect the wilderness.
Jasper National Park, one of Canada's major tourist destinations, has been devastated by the pine beetle infestation. Much of the forest is dead or dying. The dead trees are a tremendous fuel load and present a significant risk to the community of Jasper. Residents are concerned for their own safety and that of the visitors and the security of their homes. With a high risk of wildfires fueled by a forest devastated by the pine beetle, have the Liberals put a plan in place to protect this park?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government is absolutely committed to the ecological integrity of our national parks. That is my first priority as a minister. We are working very hard in all of our parks, including Jasper National Park. I look forward to talking to the member further about this and seeing how we can move forward.
They used to harvest. They used to log. I mean, if an area got affected by pine beetles, for instance, they wouldn't just let those stands of pine beetle infested trees stay there. They would go cut some down. And maybe not in the summer, but you can do it in winter or whatever. You could even do it using old technologies like horse-drawn systems. Lately, they haven't done that. I mean, that was one of my number one complaints. Every time everybody's seen it, every Calgarian's seen it. When you drive through the Rockies, when you drive along the highway, you see the slopes on the mountains and all the trees are dead. And they're leaving these dead trees there, which is just tinder, just firewood. So that's an example. I mean, they used to do cleanup in around town. And I mean, if there's a fire in the backcountry, that's one thing. But we're talking, this is like a fire that came through town. I mean, that's completely unacceptable. Like, they should have cleared some land, put a firewall around there, prepared people. Like, I mean, we've had 5 or 6 major municipalities in the last 15 years. You know, we've had Fort McMurray, Slave Lake. We've had, last year it was all around Grand Prairie. I mean, this is not new. And we got municipalities that are still unprepared. I mean, yeah, like when we talk about Jasper or Banff, there's the big park, the wilderness, but there's the town. And I think in this case, it's the town that was really neglected.
On the environmental aspect, a lot of people are seeing this wildfire and they're blaming environmentalism for an increase in wildfires. Whereas if you're actively preventing wildfires, I imagine no doubt there's going to be a buildup of, as you mentioned, the tools needed for wildfires to naturally develop, such as all this dead wood we see. Do you think that these things are related? Do you think that the environmentalists should perhaps be thinking of environmental maintenance and sustainability as opposed to just blaming it for the disaster?
Yes. I mean, you know, the environmentalists in some instances are their own worst enemies. You know, like an example that I hear all the time is people talking about, oh, we need to protect old growth forests. And people don't actually know what an old growth forest is. And, you know, people imagine that an old growth forest is something in British Columbia with these big sequoias or whatever. But an old growth forest simply means trees that have gotten too old. Well, so the language penetrated the environmental movement, and everybody's like, let's protect the old growth forest, which started to mean let's protect everything. Well, no, we can't do that because a forest has a life cycle, and at some point the trees are going to die. So either they die naturally and burn, or we go and help with the management. So yeah, I think the environmental movement has hurt itself in some instances. And now in hindsight, or after all these disasters, it's easy to blame everybody but, right? No politician's going to take blame for this. No environmentalist going to take blame for this. No company's going to take blame for this. We're going to blame it on climate change, which is easy.
It was a lightning strike, so it just would have happened. But from what we've heard, there's like the trees in Jasper are like dying or something. So like when the lightning strike happened, it just like went up in flames. But people have been saying for months that Jasper was going to burn.
Yeah. I think the most surprising thing is just how quickly it happens. Like we left about 48 hours ago, and now there's nothing left. Yeah, you think you have more time for that kind of thing, but just like that, it's all gone.
What should be done or needs to be done now for you guys for the moment and moving forward?
Currently, there's been a really good response, especially here from like the evacuation centres in the city, and information has been really good in terms of being passed out from like the municipality of Jasper on social media and stuff. So we've known where to go and what to do. Currently we're being put into hotels indefinitely whilst we sort of figure out what the next move is.
Just need some more clarity on the situation, I suppose. I know there's only so much they can know, and it's a developing situation. But it would be good to have some kind of roadmap that just outlines what's going to happen, what we're going to get in terms of reparations, and what the next few weeks or few months are going to look like. That'd be good to know.
I just hope that everybody gets out safe, and for the people that like have been living in Jasper their whole lives, like I just hope that they're going to be okay and get some sort of compensation or something, because we know people who have lived there forever and now their homes are gone, and I just really hope that everything will be okay for them.
What do you think needs to be done for the people that we're seeing behind us, for the town of Jasper itself, now and moving forward? What should be done for them?
I hope it's minimal. I hope the damage can be rebuilt quickly. I mean, that's what I'd like to do. I mean, Banff is a gem. Jasper is a gem. They're important to our economy, to tourism. You know, I just said it. I mean, as much as the parks are there as parks, they are also there for tourism. So hopefully we rebuild it quickly. But we got to rebuild it and learn from this. But that's the part that upsets me. We're not learning. I mean, after the fires in Fort McMurray, we should have put a 1 mile radius around the town of Banff where we cut all the trees. Let's learn from this. Like we've had, like, this is nothing new. I don't know why we're pretending that this is a new phenomenon. Like, let's not fool ourselves. We live in Alberta, where there are huge forests, and we used to be good at doing this. Like this, when I was a kid, this didn't happen every year. You didn't burn down towns. So let's remind ourselves of where we live, and let's be realistic and pragmatic, and let's forget some of these crazy ideologies, and let's focus on what's important, which is, the fact that we live in the wilderness and we need to be prepared for the inevitable fires. They will always happen.
You mean we're part of nature?
We're part of nature, and we're smarter than nature. We should be able to live in nature and not, lose our homes every 10 years.
For Rebel News, I'm Sydney Fizzard. If you would like to support our independent journalism, please consider donating to our work at rebelnews.com.